try this again.
Oh my god.
Uh, oh my god. Yeah, see, I said go live on OBS, but I didn't say go live in the stream. So that's
Good job.
that's important.
This this is fine.
Oh, so it did that countdown and all that fancy schmancy stuff for no reason. uh,
Yep, basically.
yep. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and transition, and so, hi guys. Give us like a few moments to make sure that everything is in working order before we actually start the stream.
Apparently I'm not the only one still waking up.
Yeah.
And yes, I am in workout attire, hair pulled back. I make no apologies.
Uh, well. It so messes with your brain to like switch between the windows and all of that stuff.
Well, that's why they have the pop out for the chat.
Yes.
You ever get like an eyelash or something caught right behind your glasses, guys?
Ew.
Or a dog hair? Amy.
Okay, so I got confirmation that we are both good and clear.
Oh, goody.
So,
It's always nice.
yay! We can do
Thank you, Steven.
something. Thanks, Steven. He a good hubby. Uh, but, all right. And now it's perfect. Oh crap! I didn't mean to show up our usernames. Oh well. It's okay. But anyways,
What did you do?
do you have your mic on that noise suppression thing? Because it just did the thing where
Probably.
you talked really softly and it didn't put anything through. So if it is, if you can please turn it off.
I actually don't have it on.
Oh, well.
Here, hold on. Let me just adjust the settings. I know I'm a little quiet right now. I just woke up. Lower this. There we go. That should be fine.
The joys of having a live stream and not doing anything in advance. See, our first live stream, we were smart and we're like, we're going to do a test on, a few days prior. And then today, well, this just in general, we kind of procrastinated on literally everything having to do with this live stream, including testing it to make sure it works. But you know what?
Fine.
Everything worked out fine,
fine.
so I think I'm gonna continue to procrastinate until the day of.
Yes, because that's the lesson we should take away from this. Definitely. 10 out of 10.
Okay, maybe like 30 minutes prior test it and make sure that's okay. 30 minutes or 40 or 15. But anyways. Oh shush. All right. So today we are covering They Came with the Rain, and this is horrible, but I can't remember the author. I know it's Christopher something.
Christopher Coleman.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh. But first, before we get into the book, as we start off with every single episode, what tea are you drinking, Jess?
I am drinking vanilla chai tea by Bigelow.
Ooh,
Good stuff.
very nice. I am drinking it's the Tivana Peach Tranquility. It's the where it's in the actual like satchel bag. but it's got the loose leaf tea chunks in it. I love it. It's very relaxing. But I was a little bit stressed this morning, so I needed something relaxing. Well, the hardest thing is when you're stressed, but you're also tired. So you're like, do I drink something relaxing or do I drink caffeine? Because I don't know about you, but whenever I drink caffeine, it makes my anxiety just go through the freaking roof. So,
It makes me feel exhausted faster.
even
You
when
know
it's tea?
the you know the meme of the skeleton like accelerating? Yeah, that's me.
See, with coffee, I definitely get that hit, but not with tea. With tea, I
Well,
feel.
it's really just when I'm in that like anxious state
Oh.
and exhausted, and then I have caffeine, I'm just exhausted faster.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But,
no, but tea. So the reason why caffeine you get that or crash with like coffee and all is because of all the way it's prepared and the additives and all that are usually put in coffee.
yeah.
It usually tends to have a lot more like sugar and things like that, which makes you crash.
Hmm.
But there are different proteins and compounds in tea that make it more of a slow release for
Hmm.
caffeine, so you don't get that crash.
Yeah, yeah. But off to They Came with the Rain. So I really want to comment about this book, but I will wait until I have said the summary. Focus. All right.
You can
So,
tell we just recently woke up.
hey, I've been up until 7, but I've
Oh, then
also,
you have no excuse.
yeah, I'm just,
I have every excuse. You
my
have no
mind is just
excuse.
like pew, pew, pew
This
today.
is fine.
So, all right. So,
Sound effects and all.
I know. I know. But anyways, so essentially this town in Arizona, they get rain, which is a surprise because they haven't had rain in months and rain wasn't in the forecast. Well, they wake up and they find that a lot of people, like a significant amount of the town, um, is very quiet. And they discover that it's because a lot of them are dead. And not just dead, they are like black, wrinkly skinned. Like,
Desiccated.
yeah, thank you. They don't look right. But anyways,
They kind of
um,
describe it like three different ways, but the main way that they keep describing it is basically desiccated.
yeah,
So
yeah, and the I had considered the sheriff almost like a main character.
yeah,
And this is terrible. His name is spelled Ramon. Is it spelled or is it pronounced
Ramon.
Ramon or
Yeah,
Ramon?
it's Ramon.
Ramon? Okay.
Yes.
I always thought that Ramon had an E at the end, but okay, cool. But anyways, Professor. Sheriff, well, his last name is Thomas too, right? Thomas.
Yes.
Yeah, so Sheriff
Yes.
Sheriff
Sheriff Thomas.
Thomas. Okay. But anyways, he starts well, first he comes into work and he gets called by this kid that's doing a good old security job, and he's like crap, what was his name?
Jerry.
Thank you. I should have known that. But anyways, because that's my dad's name. I can't. I shouldn't have forgotten. But anyways, his car is there, and there's his shotgun on the ground, but he's not anywhere to be seen. And so the sheriff comes to investigate, and he's bringing the kid up to this telescope, which they were doing the guard for. Oh, I guess I should preface. So this town is very unique in which they have a telescope, and it's the telescope uses radio waves. And in order for them to make sure that there's not any sort of interference, the town is quiet, like no cell phones, no radios, and they if anyone uses those, then they can get fined. But most of the time, they get off with just a warning rather than any like significant consequences. Um, but anyways, while he's bringing the kid up, the kid sees something in the woods, and so they stop, and the sheriff ends up seeing it too, and it's this like black fuzzy outlined like it's a it's humanoid, but it's like 7 feet tall and really thin. Do you want
Think
to?
Slender Man with like not really much definition. Just the outlines aren't really defined and all. It doesn't look like a solid shape necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
They keep describing it almost smoke like.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
keeps going in and out of phase basically. So
Yeah.
um there are times when it seems to kind of form more of a solid shape and more expression and everything, but other times it just kind of like fades in and out. So it's
Yeah.
hard to tell what you're actually looking at.
Yeah. A lot of the people, like through a lot of the chapters, they have different points of view, and so they have the characters describe it slightly differently. But all of them pretty much say like they can't tell whether or not it's their sight playing tricks on them or if it's an organic animal. But then like after viewing it enough, they're like, oh, it's actually a living thing. It just doesn't really seem to have a solid shape. But anyway, so the sheriff sees it, and uh the kid, Riley, I think that was a kid's name.
Something like that.
Anyways,
I think so.
anyways,
He dies really quickly. I didn't really
yeah.
remember his name.
he the sheriff and the kid are like freaking out, and the kid gets grabbed like by the face, and the all the sheriff hears is the kid screaming like no, no, never, and then the kid turns into the black corpse that we've been seeing throughout the town, that's like decimated and
Desiccated.
desiccated. Thank you. And then falls to the ground dead. Um, so that was the sheriff's first experience, and anyways, they come to find out that these creatures are Arali. I think that's how you pronounce it. Arali.
I was pronouncing it in my head as a Raleigh.
Arali.
I have no idea. There's no like
Probably.
phonetic thing with it at
Yeah.
all
It might be
anywhere in it.
tomato type of
And
thing.
it is a truly created creature for this book. I looked it up. I didn't find anything else online anywhere for it.
Yeah, but they're essentially these demons that feed off of. I didn't really quite understand exactly what the.
It was like quote unquote evil or the cruelty in people, or the darkness in people. So they have this like telepathy, and they would hunt people down, and they would make them basically um, relive all of their memories in like seconds. Basically, like before you die, your life flashes before your eyes. That's what was happening to them. And then they would say in their minds, show me your evil,
Mhm.
or tell me you're evil.
Yeah, tell me you're evil.
Tell me you're evil. And if the person didn't tell them their biggest moment of darkness, then they died.
Yeah. And then if they did, they were kind of traumatized afterwards.
Yeah. Supposedly, if you gave them the correct answer, they would basically extend your life by quite a bit. but we aren't entirely sure if that's true or not.
Yeah, they didn't like they touched on being rewarded, but they didn't
Yeah.
really give a whole lot of detail on what all that entailed.
Well, I mean, Xander goes into it at one point. Um, the boss of the thing.
Yeah.
He's essentially, apart from the Arali, he's the big bad, and he had met them before, and they were basically his life's work, like learning about them, studying them, and trying to ultimately contact them repeatedly, just to extend his life as far as he could. And he had met them before 12 years prior, and he gave them the right answer, and he believed that his life was extended quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to give them the right answer.
Yeah.
So
Yes. So and um so the way that they defeat the Irali is well they notice like there's a few times since a lot of the survivors are police, they try and shoot, and one of them is the owner of a gun store. A lot
I
of
liked him. I liked Tony.
but they try and shoot the creatures, and they're noticing that the bullets themselves aren't harming the creatures, but it's the sound that seems to not really be harming them necessarily, but it kind of drives them away, like a deterrent almost. And
They
then
seem uncomfortable
yeah,
with
or
the
like
sound.
there's this one part where they were going to come after, I think it was Maria, and she just screamed, like blood curdling scream, and then it stopped trying to pursue her. Um, so what they ended up doing is there was a baby that survived, and Anthony, and
Antonio.
oh, and Tano, I'm mixing up names. Thank you. And they brought him to, I guess, kind of the area where they kind of figured they originated is like the sinkhole area,
Hmm.
and they just kind of give it the baby, and I don't know. Or maybe, okay, maybe you should explain it.
Okay, so in the end, when they bring they're facing these things, and Xander is trying to basically feed the Arali as much quote unquote sin as he can,
Yeah.
basically to show, basically to garner their favor. And
Oh, sorry. One thing we should
Allie,
probably mention is this part is uh this their arrival this time is a little bit different because they're not going to go back. Like before in their previous times there's like a time limit, and they said that so that's the reason why they have to actually defeat them. I just wanted to throw that in there.
so another deputy, Allie, one of the only surviving ones left, she had told the little girl that they had found, Maria, to stay in the car, in the squad car, with her brother, the infant, Antonio. And they were about to continue and to basically feed them to the Arali or shoot them. And once they were done, and Maria leaves the car where she was hiding. The car was kind of hidden by a lot of the redwoods that are there, and she walks out there with her brother, that is screaming, crying, infant, and the sound is very, very, very uncomfortable to the Arali, and you can tell it's having a clear effect on them. And then they and their attempt to defend themselves latch on to the infant's mind.
There we go. Yeah.
And I mean, it's an infant that's like 8, 9 months old.
Yeah, so it doesn't have any
So it
evil.
doesn't have any evil. It was just born. It
Yeah.
hasn't done anything but eat and sleep and poop. And they had mentioned before that he like never cries, he like never makes a sound because he has
Oh,
this
yeah.
condition where he's extremely underdeveloped. The doctors actually didn't expect him to live long enough to be born, and even if he had, they said that it would be a matter of hours
Did you
after
look up
birth
that
before he died.
condition, by the way?
Yes, I did.
It's a real thing.
It is. It is a real thing, and it's a very unfortunate thing. There's no cure for it or anything.
Mm.
It's just a defect that happens every now and then. It's fairly rare, where the brain. Sorry, my voice tried to leave for no reason.
Oh.
The there are parts of the brain and like skull that don't develop at all.
Oh.
Like they don't form. So extremely deformed head and cranial region, and they usually they're missing a lot of the functions needed to live. So if they are born, if they do actually go to full term, which is very very rare, then they usually only last hours
Mm.
before they pass.
So this
But
was like
he
a
had survived
huge.
8 months.
So he must have had just enough brain development to be able to have like the basic needed functions to survive.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't live much past that point of the Orali dying. Because they did die. They couldn't feed off of the infant, and he was still screaming, crying. So they themselves desiccated, turned to dust, and were no more.
Yeah.
And Xander, seeing the things just die, he decided, screw this, and walked off the edge of the sinkhole and killed himself. That was it. Basically, they had one of his henchmen left, the woman, who actually didn't have that many lines throughout the entire book.
Yeah.
And
I kind of
they,
forgot she existed.
yeah, they kept her around. They detained her basically so that they could turn her over
Yeah.
to the other authorities whenever they were rescued.
Yeah. So,
But yeah.
you definitely explained that a lot better than I did. So, they gave the baby to the
I mean,
demons.
you're normally you're better at summaries than I am, but I don't know what it is with you this morning.
I
You're all over the place.
I know. I'm so sorry.
Girl, what the heck?
I don't
No.
know. But anyways.
It's a little disjointed, guys, but basically these there's a sinkhole that forms, it rains, these monsters come up, they they hunt people down systematically, like the entire town. They go through the entire area and try to find anyone that they can, and they make them relive their life and ask them, tell me you're evil. And if you don't give the right answer, you die. And the ones that they kill, they take their bodies.
Mhm.
They do mention that a couple of times in the book. They take the bodies with them. We assume down in the sinkhole or wherever they came from in the sinkhole, and when everything is resolved, when people from outside of that area come in, there are just all these disappearances and no, seemingly no reason for it. They're
Mhm.
just gone. There's no trace, nothing. So, and no real evidence of like foul play for the most part. They're just gone.
Yeah. But
So,
so entertainment scale. So, I have to. I'm still processing this book. Overall, like compared to the book that we read last month, like I really did enjoy the book last month, but the format and stuff like that made it a little bit more difficult to digest. But this book, it was your typical format. I guess the only thing is it kind of would switch like character views once in a while, but I mean, whatever.
That was fine. Yeah.
So I would probably rate this book probably a 7. Because it's like the writing wasn't the best, but it wasn't terrible. Like I
Yeah.
always
I feel
know
like
it's a decent book if I can picture the images in my head, and I did do that in this book.
yeah, I mean I do that with a book regardless,
Hmm.
but there were a lot of like grammatical things
Yeah.
that really bugged me. Um it felt like they went straight to printing and not really edited a lot of it beforehand just to make sure that it was good. And that I don't know why it bugs me so much, but it does. um, that and some of the flashbacks that they had with Winston Bell, the local millionaire.
Yeah.
I don't care about him. Just give me the highlights.
Yeah, those were really hard
Just
to
give me
get
the
through. They were very
highlights.
boring. Like I
And they didn't really contribute that much, to be honest.
well, but it kind of added to a complete picture whenever he dies. Because whenever he's like, "Oh, this is my greatest evil," and then Xander is like,
That part was interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that part
actually
was
really like
interesting,
that.
and I honestly expected him to say, I did all of this and let, hundreds of people die from this town for the chance for me to live longer. And instead, he goes into this story of him almost raping a woman that he worked with years before. And I'm like, okay, as bad as that is, because it is awful, he's a despicable human being. Um, what about what you've been doing for the last 6 months?
Yeah, he is
Like,
just so concerned about his greatest evil that he wasn't thinking about the evil he is currently committing.
yeah, yeah. And then Xander came out and said it. I'm like, yeah, why didn't he say that? I've been wondering that this whole time. And the creatures killed him, and I was like, yay! The
Uh.
jerk is dead. But I don't know. I honestly don't know why I couldn't really get that much behind this book. Normally, with this type of book, I'd be all over it, but this one, for some reason, it was just a little bit harder for me to get through.
Hmm.
So I'd probably give it a 5. It
Hmm.
was all right, but it just, I don't know what it was about it that
Hmm.
it just didn't really hold me as much as I feel like it should have.
I feel like once I got into the book, the characters were a lot more realistic, but like the very first chapter with the boyfriend and his girlfriend, they were just like extreme horror stereotypes and like for me, like with a movie you kind of expect the characters to be way over the top, but for a book, at least for me, I tend to expect a lot more realistic characters. And because they were so over the top, especially the girlfriend, and in my view, they were acting so unrealistically, it kind of brought me out. But then, like once it started following the sheriff, um, it kind of picked up for me. Um,
Oh, yeah, a little. I also feel like some things were a little bit unnecessary in the book, like Xander and his crew had set up all of these places in abandoned homes and things that were going to make it seem like there was a meth empire.
yeah.
I feel like that was unnecessary.
Especially,
I
didn't
know
they
he,
talk about blowing up the town too?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, using the meth staged areas to blow it up, and all of these chemicals would be released and all that way. I know he's trying to like discredit any possible survivors, but it seemed like he was going to kill a lot of them anyway, so what was the point of that?
Yeah.
And he was also saying he wanted to make sure that there wasn't that thorough of an investigation. But I'm sorry, if those creatures disappear without a trace, they're not going to find anything.
Yeah, that
It
like
would just be a cold case and they would move on.
yeah, that was pretty odd because he's like, "Oh, we gotta destroy the evidence." I'm like, even the people
There's
that are seeing the creatures can barely confirm that it's an
yes.
actual creature. It's like, why?
They can't even describe it properly. Like,
Yeah,
what are you
yeah.
worried about?
I guess the only other thing that I was wanting from the book too is, in the different chapters they show the different points of view, but the characters' dialects didn't really change much. Which I know they're living in the same area, but a lot of or and a lot of them it seemed have lived for generations in the town. It was a very small town, but they didn't really seem to have that many differing personalities. Or like I would have thought that it's like if you don't own the dialect per character, fine. But make the descriptions of the demons or Aurelie like distinct enough that you can be like, oh, this character sees them this way. This character see I don't know. But
I think we were meant to see them as closer to like demons
yeah.
because they kept going back to the religion aspect.
Yeah.
And they kept saying that it's very very similar, religion stems from this. They're
Mhm.
not the same, but this is what religion stems from.
Yeah.
So I think we were kind of meant to see it like that for all of the characters.
Yeah. Well, I guess my other beef too is there are two uh, kids in the book, but whenever they spoke, if I didn't read a description that they were kids, I wouldn't have known that they were kids. Like I was like, I understand they're like 11 or something. Like they're older
11 and
kids,
13. Mhm.
but it's even kids that age don't have the exact same like either mode of thinking uh
Or the
or
vocabulary.
yeah, as adults. And
Mhm.
so that kind of took me out too. Um I do wish that I felt like the scenes that were supposed to be intense for me personally did feel intense, but there wasn't a lot of build up and they ended pretty quickly. Like it would have been kind of nice if maybe the character like felt like something was going on and is like building up and building up and building up and then they finally see the creature or something like that. It's like I don't know, it just wasn't. It's almost like in a movie where they have a quick like, oh, you open this door and boop, jump scare, and then it's like done. It just was kind of like
Yeah.
popped in there.
So, something I was thinking about what you said earlier with Maria
Mm-hmm.
when she was going to search for Josh's mom's car behind the diner
Yeah, Dee Dee.
and she sees the Arali and she thinks it's coming for her. It doesn't come anywhere near her. And you said it was scared off with her scream. I think it was actually staying away because of the baby,
Oh.
just based on what happened later. And they didn't touch the baby when they went after her parents.
Mm-hmm.
The baby was in the same room.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it was actually staying away because of the baby. And that was kind of cool that they brought that through.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little more subtle, but it wasn't really well defined like a few other things in the book. There wasn't much concrete um, rules or facts about them or anything.
Yeah.
It seemed a little ambiguous.
Well, plus, like, I understand it's a small town, but there's no way there's just one baby. Like, and plus, it's like,
Yeah,
by what age do the Aurelie are like, oh, this is fine? Like, if the kid's like
yeah,
a toddler or, yeah. I did find that the Aurelie were pretty interesting, though. Like, I felt myself wanting to learn more about them as they were describing them. But I do feel like they gave too much away about them too quickly.
A little bit. I kind of I would have preferred that we not be given a full description of them so early on because they did describe them through a couple of characters' eyes in like the first couple of chapters. Even in the
Yeah.
first chapter with the first two deaths.
Yeah, especially with them saying that it was hard to get a good uh it was hard to understand exactly what they were seeing. It would totally make sense that you wouldn't
Hmm.
get necessarily a full description until maybe like halfway after there's
Yeah.
been a couple of deaths or something. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And
Yeah.
plus, it would make it more intense if you don't know exactly what you're looking at.
And just the way that they move, it would have made it really difficult for them to get a good look at it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that could have been done a little bit differently, but
Yeah. Yeah, but uh, I think that's all I have for
we never
entertainment.
actually rated it for entertainment.
We, I did.
I gave it a 5.
Oh, you? Yeah, you did.
What did you give it?
I
I
gave
never
it
heard it from
a
you.
7.
Okay. I
Yeah,
don't think you ever actually said it
I
though.
did. I said 7, and then you said 5. Anyway, whatever. I mean, I'm so all over the place. It could be possible that I said 7 in my head. But now, darn it, now that we're talking about it, it makes me want to downgrade it to a 6. It's like, it really wasn't a bad book. It
It
just
wasn't
wasn't.
bad.
And I did find it entertaining. Like, it was worth the read. It just wasn't like a book that I get excited about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to downgrade it to a 6. If the author is watching this, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
But,
I mean, I've read some that were just awful. This one was it was all right.
and it
It
appeared to
wasn't the
be,
my favorite, but
yeah,
it was all right.
it appeared to be a self published
Yeah.
book. And, with the self published books, they tend to be varying quality. And I mean, I've read some
This is one of the better
amazing.
self-published ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely consider this a better one. Like, this
Mhm.
person obviously has talent, but, and it appeared that this is the second book that they ever published. Because
I'm
the
not
first,
entirely sure. I know he has a whole bunch of other books actually, and one of them is They Came with the Snow,
yeah, that
and
one was
that's
the
actually a
first one.
series.
Well, so I was reading the comments, and even though they came with the snow and then they came with the rain has similar names, they're actually not. They're
Yeah.
isolated books.
Yeah. But he also has a couple other series too. So,
Yeah, but uh, from what I saw, it looked like it was his second book. So if this truly was his second book that he published, I could understand why there are flaws, but I would probably encourage. I mean, any self-published author, have multiple people read your book and give you feedback, and so you can. Because whenever, like, I love writing myself. I don't have any published books, but it's something that I've kind of dreamed about. But anyways, I very much am aware of whenever I write something, I'm just so focused on what I'm writing about that I might not see flaws or disconnects in the story. And so it's very helpful to have at least a handful of people read it. It's like, if you're a self published author, obviously you may not have the funds to hire an editor or anything, but at least have multiple people read it, give you feedback about the story. Make sure it's people that are honest and not family members, because of course family members are going to be like, "Oh, it was so good." And like, no, like, have people that will honestly critique you, because that's what's going to help you the most.
mhm.
But yeah, overall, pretty good book. Just little tweaks here and there that would make it a lot more.
Yeah,
It'd make
the
it more.
premise itself was really good.
Yeah,
It
like
was
the
really
premise was.
interesting. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Agree. But all right, off to realism.
We're setting aside the fact that these
Yeah, these are
creatures
demons coming with. Yep.
are
And that
creatures.
and that we can't forecast rain.
Oh, it's a random rainstorm. Um, yeah, no. And they're traveling through the earth
Well, plus I'm
and coming
like,
up in the sinkholes.
you realize that weather forecasts are in real time, so even if the rain like had just come, like the weather forecast would update it and be like, "Boop, it's raining." Like, so. But it's like they've got radars, they've got eye views, they've got towers, they've got everything. They're always watching.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. So setting those aside, um, I feel like it was fairly realistic.
yeah, like the character reactions and
I'd
stuff
give it
seem
about a
pretty.
5.
Yeah,
About the same as entertainment. There were some things that I'm like, but other than that, mostly the reactions and things were about where I'd expect them to be.
yeah. I would rate it a 5 too, and the biggest reason is because the big villain guy Xander, just a little bit too villainy.
Well, I mean, he came across to me as like almost a cultist.
Yeah,
And
this
that
is
kind
true.
of made sense. He was kind of a zealot with it, and he kind of worshipped these things, and that kind of made sense that he would um, try to help them any way he could by like interfering with the signals and things, which actually didn't do anything at all. Come to find out, it had nothing to do with it. It just happened recently that they popped up in these areas near a radio tower because the area itself had to be quiet for there to be no interference. That's
Hmm.
why they preferred those kinds of areas.
Yeah,
They just hate noise.
yeah, yeah.
But he didn't know, it was just his theory, so he wanted to try to help them any way he could. So he had Mr. Winston Bell try to interfere with the signals by using his radio a few days out of the week or so, just to mess with their data.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Like,
I guess another thing that kind of docks down the realistic scale for me is if you have creatures that feed off of evil, you kind of have to automatically create characters that have a lot of hidden evil. And I don't know, I felt that that was a bit. Some of the with how many characters had so many awful things that they did, it just made it a little bit over the top.
I
But
don't know. I mean, everybody has something that they regret in their life, and a lot of people are stubborn and don't want to admit it to anyone, let alone themselves. So I could kind of see that. I feel like they still would have had more survivors than they really did, but I don't know. I could see a lot of them being like that and not admitting anything. I still love Tony's death scene though. F you and F them too.
uh but I guess it did get me to thinking though. I was like, if I was aw. Um I guess this is more on like if I were in that situation, which this book I don't really feel like there's a lot that we would be able to add to that. But anyways, it got me to thinking if those creatures were real and I had to say like my greatest evil, what it would be. And I mean, it sounds like you don't really know it until they kind of like force it to your mind. But I couldn't
Because
really,
there's a lot of things that we bury,
yeah.
but I couldn't really honestly think of that much bad that I've done.
Yeah, it's like I went 85 and an 80 died. It's like, but we're kind of goody two shoes. Like we.
A little bit. So I mean, we're total shut-ins and we're giant nerds. Like,
Like,
what do we have to say
like when I
about?
was a teenager, I used to torrent stuff, but I buy things now. I promise.
Yeah. I mean, we have dark little souls and we think about things like murder and death, but
Yeah,
that's what
but
we watch horror movies for
yeah.
and critique the realism of it. Like,
Uh, but yeah, that was kind
I
of.
know, I know, I stopped petting you. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys.
But there's not a lot of books, especially horror books, that necessarily cause you to self-examine yourself. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it does kind of make you think about um what you would do in that situation more so than a lot of other books. Like, what
yeah,
answer would you give them?
yeah,
So that was
yeah.
kind of nice.
So anything else you wanted to add to the realism scale before we sort of wrap up and give our
Yes.
thoughts? Okay.
So when they had a theory about noise hurting them, I know they had several different stores and things, and they could have easily swung by one of them and picked up like the loudest noisemaker type thing that they could think of, and why didn't they?
Like a siren or a giant, like
Yes,
the talk things. I forgot what they're called.
the megaphones.
Thank you.
Megaphones or air horns.
Beep! That would have been
That's what I was thinking the
hilarious.
entire time. Like, where's an air horn when you need one?
Yeah, and it's not like they're that hard to find.
They're really not. They're everywhere. I know it's a small town, but come on.
That's also
There's
a
gotta
tourist
be
town, so
something.
yeah, they've got to have
There's gotta be
noisemakers and
something.
yeah,
And I know their main attractions are like fishing and hunting, but come on. There's something there. Or a whistle. You know there's
yeah, the
whistles.
whistle or
You
one of
know
those
there's whistles.
duck horn things, like
The duck calls. Those aren't actually as loud as you would think.
Oh really?
Honestly, yeah.
Oh, I haven't heard one in real life.
They're not as loud as you would think.
That'd be annoying.
But
though.
like moose calls and things like that, like come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
I'd be finding like the loudest, most obnoxious things ever.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Or like even like having a lawnmower or something
Yeah,
going.
I mean,
like those are extremely
you
loud.
have kids with you. They're creative in that aspect. Just tell them, have them go crazy. Here's a toy store. Find the loudest thing you can.
They would love it. Yeah, even
Within
toys.
5 minutes.
Like toddler
less
toys
than 5.
are the
Oh,
most
yeah.
irritating
Less than
things.
5 minutes. They're gonna find the most obnoxious loud toy that they have ever created in the
Yeah.
existence of ever.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Use your resources. Use the kids.
Yeah.
They'll find it.
Yeah. But
I don't know why Amy's so demanding
needy.
right now. She's so needy.
But,
Guys, the Husco, she demands lovin's.
but I know if someone asked me for a good horror book, it wouldn't necessarily be on the top of my list, but if they've like exhausted all of like the main novels and they're like, I just need something, I would definitely recommend this book, I think.
Yeah. I would honestly go Scavenger Hunt and then this one. I actually kind of enjoyed Scavenger Hunt a little bit more.
See,
That one,
I'm
some
kind
of the
the
deaths
opposite.
surprised me though. In that one, this one didn't really surprise me. You could see it coming a mile away. I was a little bit surprised when they found the baby still alive and then the mom still alive. I was sitting there, they're dead.
Yeah, they've like
They
very
did.
solidly stated
Yeah.
that they had died, so yeah.
Yeah, they were like, there's almost no chance of them living and all. And when he's like, I want to at least know about my mom, I'm like, she dead. I had pretty much written her off, like she dead, she gone.
Yeah.
Though I do have a question. these things seem to not really care about doors. Like, they had a few different scenes where characters were watching them basically just force their way through the door and pushing them open, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and getting the people and all, but they can't figure out how to work a door for a walk-in freezer,
Yeah,
or
that.
sorry, walk-in refrigerator.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they have like extra doodads that you have to open, but
They had just a handle.
mm,
They described it as it was a handle. You you turn and open.
then yeah.
But I feel like these things are intelligent enough and have seen enough memories and things in the people that they can figure out how to work a door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a plot hole there.
A little bit.
So, but it's funny how like we're flip flop. Like I really did enjoy Scavenger Hunt, and the whole premise of the story was super interesting. I think it'd make a great movie. But I don't know, just something about this book, I was just so much more entranced in like what I wanted I wanted to explore more in this world than in the
Yeah.
scavenger hunt. Like the scavenger hunt, it like very much laid out the world, sometimes in too much detail. Well, this book, well, I think there could have been some rearranging in how much information they gave and when. It was interesting enough and mysterious enough that it just kept me wanting to read. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I just feel like this one was a little too close to most other creature features that I've seen or read.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the other one, there is a bit of a theme with both of them. They were a little too much on the flashbacks. We
Slow
we
down with the
wanted to read
flashbacks,
what was
guys.
going on here.
Yeah.
Like, we don't necessarily care about this. It actually makes me care a little bit less about the flashbacks because I was actually interested in what you were saying over here.
Yeah.
Don't cut out of the interesting things and go to someone that we don't know
Yeah.
and don't really care about at this point. Like, get
Well,
back to this.
and plus, I do think having is 2 or 3 chapters in the beginning of the deaths, I felt like that was unnecessary. Like I thought it'd be cool if maybe the book just started with the sheriff, and then they're realizing that the town's super empty, and then maybe they add like the flashbacks of the deaths, maybe. But that would definitely make it a lot more mysterious and almost be like a mystery that you're like following along with the characters to
Yeah.
solve versus, oh, you kind of know what's up and you're being introduced to a character that doesn't know what's going on. And so you just kind of have to follow along with them.
So, I actually kind of liked the beginning part there. I feel like again they should have revealed the monsters a little bit less. But speaking of it in like movie terms, basically, um, for the opening scene with the couple and all, you're right, they
Yeah.
were a little over the top. But like them stopping, the rain coming and all, and then they see like movement.
Yeah, that would be a
And
great
then
movie
the
scene.
guy sees the girl and she's just like frozen in place staring at this thing, and then she runs and then you hear her scream,
Mm, yeah.
and then him seeing movement here and there just out of the corner of his eye, and then you see him like from the monster's view he turns and then scream cut to black,
Mm-hmm. But
and then we
then,
move on to the next one, like the
uh,
security guard.
see, I don't even know if the security guard or Josh, the kid, would have been necessary. I don't know. But I
The
definitely did like
kid,
the
you want
first
to see
chapter.
him like following into the woods
Yeah, so you know why
just
he
so it
and
sets it up a little
yeah,
bit for when you find him later near the telescope.
yeah.
But just have them catch glimpses, almost like in Signs when they see like a leg or something
Mm,
go
yeah.
over. You just catch barest glimpses of them here and there, and he's like, "What is that? It's moving kind of weird." and then he's following the movement through the woods,
Mm-hmm.
and then switch to the security guard, and he's seeing and hearing things from it moving stuff or knocking stuff over, something,
Mm-hmm.
and him checking it out, and then again you see the movement right off the corner of the view, and then black. And then next scene is the other security guard coming in, seeing um his truck, seeing the gun on the ground, and him calling the sheriff like something weird's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sheriff, as he's driving through, it's very, very quiet in the town. He notices there's not near as much activity as there should be. Yes, it's a small town, but there should still be people getting up, going to work. Um, just the beginnings of the activity. Also, I want to point out that the monsters are rude. Not everyone gets up at 5. So he ambushed the monsters ambushed a lot of these people as they were trying to sleep. Rude.
Really?
I probably wouldn't tell you my evil either if you had just woken me up. You want to see what's evil? You waking me up.
Oh my god.
You want evil? I'll show you evil.
Uh, but
I'm not a morning person, guys.
yeah, you're not. But
I'm not a morning person.
talking about movies, though, I got to thinking whether or not this book would make a good movie. And even though I think the creatures themselves would be pretty interesting in a movie, I don't think the book would translate well to a movie because so
Probably not.
many of the things is like things flashing through their head. And it's like it's hard to add that in a movie and it be
What's funny
hmm.
is I feel like it would be more easily done and more well done as an anime.
Have almost like the
You
Death
can
Note
do different
whenever
things.
Light gets his memories and like
Yes.
and just like
Yeah.
like tell
Well,
me you're
but like you
evil.
can you can have little flashes of scenes and things here and there. And you can do that with an actual live action movie, but I feel like you have a lot more leeway and you can play with it more in more of an animated type setting than you can
Yeah.
with actual people.
And plus, then you can make it a series and kind of expand on like
Yeah.
the background and yeah, I actually really like that. Yeah, because it's like people almost expect anime to expound on like backstory and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah.
like that way they're already doing something that's pretty much expected by the audience, and then they can just maybe rearrange some of the scenes or some of the flashbacks as needed for it to make sense. I love that idea. Oops, I just dropped my fidget spinner.
So, guys, Alyssa is so ADD, she had to get a fidget spinner,
It's
and
Mjolnir.
she, of course, had to get one that is Thor's hammer.
Yeah. For some reason, it's upside down. I don't know if it's actually like that in like the lore, but but yeah, I like it. And then you can also twist the handle too, but I kind of like the weight of being like, bah! Anyways. And it's so quiet. Like most fidget spinners are so loud and obnoxious. And this one, it's so nice because whenever we first would start recording our episode, then you guys can probably hear this because I couldn't cut out all of the clicks. But I
She
used
kept,
to
like,
do
clicking
clicky
the
pens. I'd be like, crap, I gotta stop that. And so I've started using the fidget spinner. I don't know, it just, I'd say it helps me focus, but it's obviously not working today.
Not at all.
So I'm sorry, guys, for how probably random this episode came out to be, but hopefully it was entertaining. And if you haven't read the book already, uh, I think it's worth checking out. I ended up my Kindle broke, so I wasn't able to get it for free. But the cost of the book though, like buying the book, is only like I want to say like a couple dollars or
Yeah,
$5 at
this one
most.
was, yeah,
Like I didn't,
this one was very accessible.
yeah, I didn't feel like I wasted my money on the book. Like
Yeah.
it felt like it was worth the price I paid for it. So, but tell us what you guys think about it. If if we're being too critical of the book, or if there's anything you would have liked to see from the book, just let us know, and we'd love to hear about it. And we'll soon be announcing the next book that we're reading, and hopefully won't procrastinate reading.
I've already got it queued up.
You do?
I do.
Yay! Is it safe to say what it is? Or
Not yet, because I have
okay.
like two or three
Oh, okay.
already on there
Okay.
ready to be read. So
Perfect.
we'll decide exactly which one probably after this episode, immediately after this live stream, and then we'll announce it this week. So so we can start reading it.
Yep.
And
Oh,
not wait
but
until the last week.
yes. But if you guys have a request for a book for us to read, and it can be mainstream books, like something by
Mhm.
Stephen King or whatever, or it can be a book that has a movie about it. But just uh, let us know your thoughts, and if there's anything that like it would be really cool to read a book that the majority of people have read, and then just have everyone interact their thoughts, so that way we can during the live stream read them and be like, oh, that's a great idea. Like that's our ultimate goal, but we
Yeah,
don't have enough viewers yet, so it's a work in progress.
quite. We'll get there eventually.
So,
This is fine.
yep.
But until then, as always, we're still looking for movie recommendations as well. Always let us know about those and let us know your thoughts and all about the books and the movies that we review. And in the meantime, stay safe and stay spoopy, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.